addicted young man starts off with an invincible spendthrift system. He possesses an infinite number of spirit stones, and every day, a different kind of spendthrift item would refresh. As long as he keeps spending, he will become stronger. The young man is named Yifeng. Originally, he was an internet-addicted otaku on his home planet, but he accidentally traveled to the Xiantian continent. Before he could think too much, memories of this world flooded his mind. It turns out that this is a world that values martial prowess above all. Here, countless people vie to join various sects. Even a newly established sect can attract numerous applications, and the Star Soul sect in front of him was just established half a month ago. Yifeng didn't plan to join the crowd for the assessment, because he hasn't seen any cheat-like abilities yet. It's better to lay low and find a place to hide. But just as he was about to leave, two people landed in front of the Star Soul sect. The leading woman is the sect leader, Luo Qianxue. She announced today's rules for accepting disciples. No need to look at qualifications, age, or cultivation level. The atmosphere exploded as soon as these words came out. Everyone thought they had a chance to join. However, what Yifeng focused on was the woman's unparalleled beauty, much better than the influencers from his previous world. However, Luo Qianxue stated there was one requirement, that is, within an hour, one must hand over 10,000 low-grade spirit stones to join. In an instant, the previously excited crowd felt like they were doused with cold water, because this price is simply too expensive. Everyone refused one after another. In an instant, the reputation of the Star Soul sect plummeted. Even Yifeng was incredibly surprised. He didn't expect that there would be such greedy businesses in another world. Probably only a fool would agree. But at this moment, a system window popped up in front of Yifeng. It was his cheat ability awakening, named the Invincible Spendthrift System. Yifeng thought he had to wait a few years for it. He didn't expect it to come so soon. But this system seems a bit confusing. The system explained, simply spend money to become stronger. Just splurge, and the system will cover the rest. Then, Yifeng opened the information panel. As expected, he's at a very low combat level, but the item listed under the Spendthrift category is quite shocking. It's actually 10,000 Tier 9 Heavenly Thunder Talisman. It turns out that the system not only provides infinite spirit stones, but also provides a different Spendthrift item every day. The host needs to spend it all daily. By doing so, he can earn Spendthrift points as rewards. However, if he fails to spend it all, points will be deducted. These Spendthrift points are the currency used to become stronger, which can be exchanged for realms, martial skills, divine powers, and other items. Looking at these rules, Yifeng felt a bit pressured. At this moment, the system issued its first task, which is to join the Star Soul sect. On the other hand, Luo Qianxue set such stringent requirements intentionally, the reason being her father, the leader of the super strong sect Star Extreme sect on the Xiantian continent, is Luo Qianxue's father, Luo Wuming. He specifically let Luo Qianxue establish a sect to temper her state of mind. But Luo Qianxue, desiring only to cultivate and ascend, didn't want to be bothered by such trivial matters. The reason she's so dedicated is due to a secret. She is the reincarnation of a holy woman from the higher realms, determined to cultivate hard for revenge. Back to the present. After waiting for a while and seeing no one sign up, Luo Qianxue prepared to leave. In her eyes, it was impossible for anyone to meet the price. But before she could take a few steps, a male voice called out to her, "Sect leader, please wait. I wish to join. Seeing that the sect is in dire need of funds at its inception, I am willing to contribute 100,000 low-grade spirit stones." Hearing this, Luo Qianxue was stunned. She couldn't believe that someone in this remote place could afford such a price. Turning around, she saw a young man approaching them. It was none other than Yifeng. Even though he just referred to anyone willing to pay as a fool, he was willing to be that fool. After saying that, he took out a ring containing 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. Today, he wants to join the Star Soul sect. After receiving the storage ring, Luo Qianxue immediately examined it. To her surprise, it truly contained 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. Not only was she shocked that someone here could afford it, but she couldn't believe there was such a generous fool. Feeling incredulous, Luo Qianxue asked, "Are you sure you want to join our sect? You should know that our sect currently doesn't even have a place to stay." Yifeng said it was no big deal. "I have plenty of money. I can help build our sect." Luo Qianxue felt defeated by this guy, yet she still wanted to dissuade Yifeng. Her sect had no resources to offer. Joining would be a detriment to him. But with his spendthrift system, Yifeng was never short of resources. He immediately stated that he would provide for the sect's resources in the future. Luo Qianxue's blood pressure rose again in frustration. At this moment, Yifeng also realized she seemingly didn't want him to join. Holding back her anger, Luo Qianxue thought to herself, where did this madman come from? She truly didn't want anyone to join her sect. Her inner turmoil was intense at this moment. She was on the verge of killing Yifeng, but since since she had made a promise, she wouldn't go back on her word. She told Yifeng, "You can join, but I won't instruct you in cultivation. You'll have to understand everything on your own." Hearing this, Yifeng was indeed taken aback. However, after some thought, he realized he probably didn't need someone else to teach him. Seeing Yifeng ponder, Luo Chenxue thought he was having second thoughts, hoping this would deter him. However, the next moment, Yifeng nonchalantly said, "Sect leader, don't worry, I don't need anything." Yifeng was ecstatic inside. Joining a sect where he could complete his tasks without anyone restraining him, why wouldn't he join? This time, Luo Chenxue was completely defeated, so much so that she almost knelt down and spat blood. She couldn't fathom why he would joyfully spend 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. Did the heavens send him to torment her? With that thought, Luo Chenxue pulled out her weapon, ready to kill Yifeng in her rage. Old Bai from the side quickly restrained Luo Chenxue. "Young miss, we can't make things any harder. The sect has to accept at least one disciple." Yifeng was dumbfounded watching this unfold. Why wasn't she happy despite him spending so much? After calming down, Luo Chenxue had no choice but to accept Yifeng. Although she agreed, she held a lot of resentment. Yifeng, on the other hand, completed his task, earning a total of 200 spendthrift points. Now he could begin his spending journey. Subsequently, Yifeng excitedly asked the system if there were more tasks. He didn't know what spendthrift points could be used for yet, but he was eager to accumulate more. The system responded that during periods without tasks, he could explore spendthrift behaviors on his own. The amount of resources consumed wasn't directly related to spendthrift points, but any spendthrift action would grant a certain number of points. Seeing the situation, Yifeng thought of a solution. He decisively approached Luo Chenxue, asking since he was the only disciple, wouldn't that make him her direct disciple? Luo Chenxue refused immediately. It was troublesome enough letting him into the sect, but to consider him her direct disciple? No way. Yifeng then stated his intention. He wanted to buy the position of direct disciple at a high price. Both were stunned for a moment. This kind of operation exists. Coming to her senses, Luo Chenxue laughed. This guy was really something. She bluntly quoted a price of 100,000 high-quality spirit stones. If he could produce it, she'd take him as her direct disciple. Yifeng was dumbfounded. It seemed too unbelievable. Seeing this, Luo Chenxue felt quite smug. She thought she'd finally stumped him. After all, even third-rate sects might not have 100,000 high-quality spirit stones. However, in the next moment, it was her turn to be stunned. Yifeng couldn't believe that's all it would cost. He'd assumed it would be a lot more. To show his sincerity, Yifeng immediately took out a storage ring with 500,000 high-quality spirit stones. Yifeng was secretly delighted. Indeed, he was born to be extravagant. He had easily splurged another wave of spirit stones. Unsurprisingly, the system deemed the spendthrift behavior reasonable, rewarding another 200 spendthrift points. Luo Chenxue, at this moment, questioned her life decisions. 500,000 high-quality spirit stones, given to any third-rate sect, would make him revered like an ancestor. Why did he choose her sect? Luo Chenxue sighed. There was nothing she could do now. Words spoken are like spilled water. She agreed to make Yifeng her main direct disciple, and handed him the mystic azure sword as a welcoming gift. Inside, Luo Chenxue felt utterly embarrassed. The dignified maiden of the infinite holy ground not only accepted a bargain direct disciple, but also had to give him a welcoming gift. If word got out, it would be utterly shameful. Yet, Yifeng was almost in tears at this point. After receiving the mystic azure sword, he actually displeased the system. A real spendthrift shouldn't accept gifts. So, the system deducted 20 spendthrift points from Yifeng. If he returned it within an hour, the points would be restored. Yifeng was frustrated. This darn system was too nitpicky. To return the mystic azure sword, Yifeng immediately knelt down, presenting the sword with both hands. Luo Chenxue looked at him, puzzled. What are you doing? Turned out that Yifeng's intention was to spend money, rather than get something for nothing. Luo Chenxue became furious upon hearing this, taking back the mystic azure sword immediately. You really think money can buy everything? She retorted. If you don't appreciate my goodwill, then let it be. Annoyed, Luo Chenxue couldn't help but think, what kind of disciple is this? He doesn't know value at all. This is a 7th order spirit tool, a treasure of the sect, and he dares to return it. She then flew away with a face full of resentment. Yifeng was left puzzled and asked Old Bai, is the sect master not very bright? She's missing out on making money. Old Bai urged him to keep quiet. If the sect leader hears you, it'll be the end of us. Old Bai then pondered to himself, how could this ordinary person have such enormous wealth? But it's good. The young lady's state of mind was stagnant. She would have been stuck in her cultivation without change. But since this young man arrived, she seems to be changing and growing. It seems he's the key to breaking the stalemate. Old Bai then hurriedly took Yifeng back to the sect. Out of boredom, Yifeng sat on the flying sword counting birds, even allowing a bird to nest on his head. To pass the time, he inquired about how to use the spendthrift points. A personal information panel popped up. His spendthrift points had reached 400, and he hadn't had a chance to use today's earnings. Is this the advantage of having cheats? He wondered. The system then explained the realms to Yifeng. From low to high, they were Spirit C, Chi Activation, Merging Spirit, Foundation, Divine Repository, Purgatory, Purple Mansion, Original Spirit, Void Penetration, Tribulation Crossing Realm, and so on. And the Spendthrift points could be used to enhance these realms. The Spirit Sea realm required 10 points for each upgrade. Chi Activation realm needed 100 points for each level, and so forth. Hearing this, Yifeng was overwhelmed. The points required for the subsequent levels are too high. Isn't it increasing tenfold? He then opened the Spendthrift Mall. There were various containers he could draw from, each costing 100 Spendthrift points. There was an extremely low chance to get high-tier rewards. After some thought, Yifeng felt it was a bit expensive, but if he tried and drew a high-tier reward, it'd be worth it. However, on second thought, even if he got a high-tier reward, would it be of any use to him? The system then stepped in to explain. For example, if you crush a 9th grade elixir in front of an alchemist, it counts as a spendthrift action. Yifeng indeed wanted to do this, but he's just immortal now. Flaunting wealth in front of cultivators would only get him crushed. Soon after, for the sake of gaining power, Yifeng spent 90 spendthrift points to raise his strength to the 9th level of the Spirit Sea realm. The sudden breakthrough caught Old Bai's attention. Turning around, he was startled. This kid is actually forming his Spirit Sea. He then stopped flying, probed the spiritual energy around Yifeng, and was shocked once again. Just forming the Spirit Sea. Why does he need such an immense amount of spiritual energy? This would be enough for dozens of people. Yifeng, in his consciousness at the time, was also baffled. Why is it taking so long to form the Spirit Sea? As he thought this, more spiritual energy gathered around him. Old Bai was even more astounded. Is he trying to break through further? Usually, the first step in cultivation is to form the Spirit Sea, which is like laying the foundation. This process usually requires a quiet environment, assisted by elixirs to maximize the Spirit Sea formation, and after forming, it needs time to stabilize. But he didn't notice Yifeng taking any elixirs, let alone forming it during flight. A moment later, Old Bai was dumbstruck again, because Yifeng's realm was continuously breaking through, suddenly soaring from the first level of the Spirit Sea realm to the peak of the 9th level. Old Bai was absolutely horrified. What kind of genius is this? After the breakthrough was complete, Yifeng woke up, but he wasn't very satisfied, because it took a whole 10 minutes. Yes, to him, 10 minutes felt very long. By his logic, shouldn't it have been instantaneous? He then asked with an innocent face, Old Bai, it took me 10 minutes to break through 9 realms. Won't the sect master think I'm a failure? Old Bai didn't know how to respond. He wondered if Yifeng was bragging. If this was a failure, then he wouldn't even compare to a failure. In the past, even with abundant resources, it took Old Bai 8 months to go from forming the Spirit Sea to the peak of the 9th level. At that moment, Old Bai realized why Yifeng didn't want cultivation techniques or weapons. He must have a powerful technique of his own. But Yifeng was confused. What technique? I don't have one. Upon hearing that Yifeng didn't have a technique, Old Bai's face showed disbelief. To verify the truth, he personally examined Yifeng and was shocked once again. Yifeng had no spiritual roots, and his Spirit Sea was vast, like an endless ocean. At this point, Old Bai was baffled. He decided to wait until they returned to the sect for the young mistress to take a look. After arriving at the Star Soul sect, upon meeting Luo Qianxue, Old Bai relayed Yifeng's breakthrough, and that his Spirit Sea was 20 times larger than hers, while also skyrocketing to the peak of the Spirit Sea realm. Most bizarrely, he had no spiritual roots. Luo Qianxue was taken aback. She decided to personally probe him. To her surprise, what Old Bai said was true. She incredulously asked, Yifeng, without spiritual roots, how did you break through? Just then, a mocking laughter echoed from outside. The Full Moon sect came to visit, requesting an audience with the sect master of Star Soul sect. An elderly man spoke with a hint of malice. How come the Star Soul sect is so secretive? Surely, you can't have no disciples. Luo Qianxue was truly annoyed, having just taken on a quirky new disciple today, which was already a handful, and now she had to deal with these visitors. How was she supposed to cultivate in peace? She then went out to confront them, asking their intentions. The elderly man said he had heard that joining the Star Soul sect required 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. This intrigued him greatly, so he brought his disciples to see for themselves, challenging them to a match. This made Luo Qianxue even more furious. Without any disciples, she could have simply refused. Such a nuisance. But then she thought, if Yifeng gets taught a lesson, would he leave the Star Soul sect? So, she let Yifeng take the challenge. Yifeng had no problem with it, but he needed to clarify if he could use talismans. After all, he still had 10,000 talismans to waste. Hearing that he could, Yifeng confidently stepped forward, then summoned his Heavenly Thunder talismans, piling them up into a small mountain, stunning the disciples of the Full Moon sect. Damn, how does he have so many Heavenly Thunder talismans? Each Heavenly Thunder talisman emitted the energy fluctuations of a 9th grade spirit item, meaning each one could unleash a full force attack of the 9th level Spirit Sea realm. The elderly man was dumbfounded. His 3 disciples were only at the 9th level of Spirit Sea realm. With so many talismans, even if he had more disciples, they couldn't possibly win. Yifeng didn't care. You said I could use talismans. He gleefully threw the Heavenly Thunder talismans, thoroughly enjoying himself. In an instant, the field echoed explode with countless explosions. Luo Qianxue and the others were left stunned. Each of these was a 9th grade Heavenly Thunder talisman. Each one was worth at least 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. To cultivators of the same realm, one was considered a trump card. And here was Yifeng, throwing them around like they were nothing, shaking their sense of value. The 3 disciples from the Full Moon sect were shell-shocked, hurriedly calling their master to leave, thinking, this kid is such a cheat. Luo Qianxue was exasperated. How did this kid get so rich? She originally thought he might get beaten and leave on his own, but that seemed unlikely now. Yifeng looked smugly at his master, as if saying, I did well, right? However, Luo Qianxue misinterpreted this, thinking Yifeng believed she was weak, which is why she had him challenge the Full Moon sect disciples. Seems like she would need to demonstrate her authority as a master later. After several more hours of bombing, the 3 disciples from the Full Moon sect were bombarded miserably. They could only dodge throughout. Yifeng was ecstatic as he kept throwing, completely engrossed in this wasteful act. Finally, the disciples had no choice but to cry and beg their master for rescue. The elderly man seemed to misunderstand, thinking that all these talismans were given to Yifeng by the Star Soul sect. No wonder their recruitment standards were so high. Realizing he had bitten off more than he could chew, the elderly man decided to take his disciples and leave. Seeing this, it was Luo Qianxue's chance to shine. She intended to teach the old man a lesson. She revealed her strength in the original spirit realm, leaving the old man dumbstruck. Even their sect leader was only at the divine repository realm. With Luo Qianxue's strength, she could annihilate their entire sect alone. While Luo Qianxue wouldn't go to the extent of wiping out their sect, she did demand each of them to leave an arm behind. In order to save their lives, they had no choice but to comply. Finally, Luo Qianxue told them to leave. Witnessing this, Yifeng was genuinely scared. He hadn't realized his beautiful master was so ruthless. Luo Qianxue, maintaining her composure on the surface, told him to retrieve the remaining talismans, but internally, she felt helpless. Even after all this, she couldn't drive Yifeng away. At this point, Yifeng had a request. He still had over 9,000 Heavenly Thunder talismans left. Unable to throw them all by himself, he wanted Luo Qianxue to join in the fun. Facing this request, Luo Qianxue was speechless, but since he didn't seem to care, she didn't have much to say. She then agreed to Yifeng's request, curious to see how long this spendthrift could keep up. The 2 then began to throw Heavenly Thunder talismans. Witnessing such a spectacular scene, Luo Qianxue was reminded of a memory from her previous life, where her junior sister asked her to set off fireworks together. She remembered a phrase her junior sister said, if we can't enjoy ourselves till the end, wouldn't it be painful? Reflecting on it now, she felt her junior sister made a lot of sense. Meanwhile, old Bai, who was about to sleep inside the sect, was completely baffled. The continuous explosions made old Bai think there was an enemy attack. Upon realizing the noise outside was caused by the Heavenly Thunder talismans, he quickly got dressed to investigate. When he saw the situation, he was utterly stunned. Yifeng and Luo Qianxue were mindlessly tossing the Heavenly Thunder talismans. By now, Luo Qianxue had also succumbed to this wasteful behavior. She said nonchalantly, we're just disposing of the Heavenly Thunder talismans. Seeing this, Yifeng invited old Bai to join in the fun. Old Bai was furious. He immediately whacked Yifeng on the head, exclaiming, what nonsense are you 2 up to? Each of these costs 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Even the wealthy Star Soul sect can't afford to waste like this. And young lady, what's gotten into you? Why are you participating in this folly? However, all of old Bai's anger dissipated when Yifeng took out 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. With a slight smile, Yifeng said, old Bai, I apologize for disturbing your sleep. Consider these spirit stones as compensation for some tonics. Old Bai promptly tore open his shirt, revealing his robust muscles, and eagerly joined in the wasteful act. The speed at which he threw the talismans was so swift that even Yifeng was taken aback. Indeed, money makes the world go round. At this moment, a system notification appeared. Yifeng earned 100 wastrel points as a reward, so this too counted as wasteful behavior. It seems next time, he should spend more spirit stones to get old Bai's help. After all was done, old Bai began to question his life choices. He never imagined he'd feel so exhausted from just tossing talismans. Of course, he reminded Yifeng, if there's any manual labor in the future, call on me. I may be old, but I have strength. Luo Qianxue watched silently, thinking the Star Soul sect would be in chaos soon. Then she teased, old Bai, you're one of the 8 senior elders of Star Extreme sect. Did you sell yourself for a mere 100,000 high-grade spirit stones? Old Bai retorted, it's not about the spirit stones. It's about the dignity of the elderly. The system appeared again, rewarding Yifeng with 1,000 wastrel points. With this, he could potentially advance to the 9th level of the Qi activation realm, a perfect 1,000 points to break through the realm, and the remaining few hundred to open some treasures. Yifeng recalled there were only 3 people in the Star Soul sect. Relying solely on old Bai might not be enough to waste resources quickly. If he had more junior disciples, the speed of wastefulness could be increased manifold. He envisioned expanding the Star Soul sect in the future, covering all the sect's expenses. Earning wastrel points seemed easy with this approach. As if on cue, a young man appeared at the entrance, asking, "Does your sect still accept new disciples?" The moment the new disciple, Wufeng, entered the Star Soul sect, he felt something was amiss. The ground was full of craters, an old man who looked like he was on his last breath, a fierce-looking woman, and a man who appeared a bit simple-minded. Wufeng instantly felt the sect was unreliable. He wondered if it was still early enough to make a run for it. Yifeng warmly welcomed him, stating, "Yes, we are still recruiting. To join, you need to contribute 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. If you contribute 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, you can become the direct disciple of the sect master." He then proudly introduced himself. "I am Yifeng, the first disciple of the sect and the eldest disciple of the sect master." This scene left Wufeng dumbfounded. Yifeng looked at him with anticipation, hoping he would say he didn't have the money. That way, Yifeng could sponsor his entry. However, this idea was rejected by the system, claiming such a wasteful method was not justifiable unless a reasonable explanation was provided. Seeing this, Yifeng quickly made up a reason. "We get along, alright? The moment I laid eyes on him, I felt like he was my brother from another mother. Is it wrong to spend a little more for my brother?" Surprisingly, the system accepted this reasoning, but at this time, Wufeng was preparing to slip away. He felt the sect was all about money and not trustworthy. However, Yifeng wasn't about to let him leave so easily, especially since he was key to Yifeng's wasteful plans. Yifeng swiftly locked Wufeng in a chokehold, preventing him from leaving. Just then, Wufeng received a message from his grandfather from the shadows. "Stay in this sect. Once I've dealt with my matters, I will come for you." Given that his grandfather had spoken, Wufeng ceased his resistance. Meanwhile, at the sect's entrance, an old man watched the Star Soul sect, recognizing it as the sect founded by Luo Wuming's daughter. Seeing Old Bai also present reassured him, which is why he was comfortable letting Wufeng join. Yifeng then dragged Wufeng to Luo Chenxue and said, "Master, I want him as my junior disciple. Look at how obedient he looks." Wufeng was at a loss, unable to understand why his grandfather insisted he stay in such an untrustworthy sect, but he had to obey his grandfather's wishes. Luo Chenxue watched helplessly, thinking that since they already had someone like Yifeng, what harm could another disciple do? She told Wufeng to hand over 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, assuming the new recruit couldn't possibly afford such a sum. She thought this would deter him. However, Wufeng, not lacking funds, promptly handed over 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, declaring his desire to join the Star Soul sect. Luo Chenxue was taken aback. Hadn't this guy been extremely resistant? Wasn't he eager to leave just moments ago? She wondered if she had been secluded for too long. Was this kind of trickery now the trend among people? Luo Chenxue had no choice but to accept Wufeng, yet she made it clear she wouldn't offer any guidance. He'd have to cultivate on his own. Luo Chenxue thought that surely he wouldn't stay after this. However, much like Yifeng before him, Wufeng said he didn't need resources or instruction. All the materials he needed for his primary cultivation were already provided by his grandfather. This statement infuriated Luo Chenxue to the point of spitting blood. She couldn't understand why people nowadays enjoyed playing the fool. Old Bai, finding the situation amusing, congratulated Luo Chenxue. "You've gained another disciple, miss." A defeated Luo Chenxue could only accept her fate, stating she would provide guidance on their cultivation tomorrow and advising them to find a place to stay on their own. She left with a heavy heart. Seeing this, Yifeng grew slightly concerned for their lovely master. Would she be so upset that she becomes delirious? She's actually going to instruct us? Noticing Wufeng's apparent wealth, Yifeng, who had previously considered sponsoring him, decided not to assist him in becoming a direct disciple. Having one direct disciple, himself, was enough. At this point, Luo Chenxue indeed felt delirious from anger. Afterward, Yifeng struck up a conversation with his new junior, discovering his name was Lung Wufeng. Taking advantage of his status as the eldest direct disciple, Yifeng promptly promoted Wufeng to an inner sect disciple. Wufeng was speechless. His senior seemed to be the most unreliable and not too bright. After settling down, Yifeng prepared to fleece Wufeng. Upon entering, he noticed an extraordinary alchemy furnace. "Wufeng, are you an alchemist?" Proudly, Wufeng raised 3 fingers, indicating he was a third-grade alchemist. His pride was understandable. In this world, roles like alchemists, artifact refiners, talisman masters, formation masters, etc. were highly revered. Merely holding such a title could earn you great respect, as even a small pill, a talisman, or a divine artifact could determine a person's cultivation and survival. In his mind, Wufeng already imagined Yifeng begging him to refine pills. Although he usually turned down such requests, Wufeng would be more than happy to help his fated senior disciple. Apart from that, Wufeng was at the peak of the merging spirit realm's 9th layer. If he revealed this to Yifeng, his senior would undoubtedly be shocked. However, these were all figments of Wufeng's imagination. Back to reality, Yifeng's reaction to Wufeng's alchemist status was simply a casual, "Oh." Wufeng was baffled. "What's with that? I'm a third-grade alchemist. Is that all you have to say? Shouldn't you be astonished and then lavish me with praise?" At that moment, Yifeng suddenly asked, "Among the third-grade spiritual herbs, which ones are particularly rare?" Wufeng thought for a moment and replied, "Bamboo demon grass, white spirit flower, purple thunder fruit, and among others." Even a 9th grade alchemist rarely encounters these. Yifeng acknowledged his response. He then accessed a system, specifying the herbs that Wufeng mentioned. He proceeded to open 4 jars. A short while later, after spending 1,200 spending points, he obtained 2 bamboo demon grass, 1 white spirit flower, and 3 purple thunder fruit. Seeing Yifeng frozen in place, Wufeng assumed that his senior didn't recognize these herbs and was feeling ignorant. Wufeng consoled him, saying it was normal for those not trained in alchemy. However, to his surprise, Yifeng suddenly bolted out, mentioning that he was getting water. Wufeng chuckled internally, thinking his unpredictable senior was rather considerate. Wufeng decided to craft a few more pills for him later. However, moments later, Yifeng returned with a pot of soup. Wufeng was taken aback when he recognized the rare herbs he had just mentioned floating in the broth. Hurriedly, Wufeng fished the herbs out of the soup. After confirming their authenticity, he felt like he was about to explode. "Brother, you've wasted treasures." Without warning, Yifeng snatched the herbs back from Wufeng and casually remarked, "I heard that brewing spiritual herbs is beneficial for cultivators. My mistake. I thought these few spiritual herbs were something special." As he spoke, Yifeng proceeded to crush the herbs under his foot right in front of Wufeng, even grinding them a few more times for good measure. Panicking, Wufeng shouted, "Stop!" He lunged towards Yifeng, trying to salvage whatever was left of the herbs, but upon closer inspection, not even a trace of the herbs remained. Wufeng felt numb from the shock. Yifeng, having successfully wasted resources, earned 1,500 spending points. He chuckled, feeling that his waste had been profitable. After all, he had only destroyed 3 herbs, yet he still possessed 6 in total. At this point, Wufeng felt utterly dejected. Witnessing such precious herbs being destroyed right in front of him was unbearable, especially considering that even his grandfather had never seen such rare herbs. Wufeng was inconsolable, crying bitterly. Yifeng approached him to offer some comfort. It's okay. It's my fault for not recognizing the herbs. Since they're already crushed, why don't you rest up? I'll be taking my leave first." Upon returning to his room, Yifeng immediately used the precious herbs for a foot soak. It truly felt luxurious. However, what he failed to notice was, his feet were gradually turning black. Just then, Wufeng hurried over. Even though he didn't know where his senior acquired the rare herbs, he wanted to warn him about their proper usage. Of course, it wasn't that he coveted these valuable herbs. After all, these herbs could be used together or separately, but specifically, the bamboo demon grass and purple thunder fruit, when combined, produce a potent toxin. It's not deadly, but is troublesome to treat. Suddenly, Yifeng's scream echoed. He had finally noticed his blackened feet. Seeing this, Wufeng realized something was amiss. Understanding that his senior had acted recklessly again, he forcefully kicked the door open. However, upon seeing the foot-soaking tub, Wufeng was too shocked to speak. In a panic, Yifeng asked him, "What's going on?" But Wufeng wasn't really listening. His face had turned an alarming shade of dark. Once again, this act was considered a wasteful success. He was awarded another 1,500 spending points. Furthermore, 1,000 spending points could be used to cleanse the toxins from his feet. Receiving the system's solution, Yifeng's fears were alleviated. Honestly, he hadn't thought about wasting the herbs in this way. That's why he decided to soak his feet in his own room. But he hadn't expected his junior to drop by. Wufeng, with an angry expression, chided, "Senior, I came here to warn you. You can't mix bamboo demon grass with purple thunder fruit. It produces a potent toxin." Yifeng gave an awkward laugh and discreetly used the spending points to detoxify himself. In just a moment, his feet returned to their original state. Wufeng was once again taken aback. This toxin was notoriously difficult to treat, but what rendered him speechless was, Yifeng went on to soak his feet again, now with a system's detox method. Yifeng wasn't worried. He wanted to fully enjoy this medicinal bath. At worst, he'd detoxify himself through the system again, and not only could the system detoxify him, it could detoxify others too. Seeing this, Yifeng grinned. "Junior Wufeng, come join me. My foot tub is big enough. This medicinal bath will feel amazing. Don't worry about the toxins. I'll handle that for you." Wufeng was flabbergasted. This was toxic water. He couldn't bear to watch any longer. He decided to bid farewell to Yifeng. At that moment, Wufeng wondered whether he should inform the sect leader. He mistakenly believed that the precious herbs belonged to the sect, but after some thought, he wasn't one to snitch. So, he left, feeling rather helpless. After Yifeng finished his soak, he used the system to detoxify again. Then, spending 900 spending points, he elevated his cultivation to the 9th level of the Qi activation realm. Meanwhile, inside the main hall of the sect leader, Luo Chenxue was discussing Yifeng's background with Old Bai. Old Bai suggested that over time, things will become clear. What truly concerned Old Bai was, this young man had the power to disturb the young Miss's emotions. Every time Luo Chenxue thought of Yifeng, she'd grit her teeth in anger, feeling as though he was a curse sent by the heavens, and Lung Wufeng was no different. He was just the same. At that moment, the two sensed an immense spiritual power gathering coming from the disciples' quarters. Old Bai found this phenomenon very familiar, yet he felt it was improbable. After all, Yifeng had just broken through to the peak of Spirit Sea Realm's 9th level. How could he break through again? Old Bai still had vivid memories of the last time. Although he couldn't believe it, Yifeng was someone who defied conventional logic. They could only wait for the breakthrough anomaly to end. Then they would know if it was indeed Yifeng. But after just sensing the Qi activation realm's aura, they were certain it was Yifeng. Yet, the phenomenon didn't stop. Yifeng kept on breaking through. In the blink of an eye, he reached the 3rd level of the Qi activation realm. In mere moments, he progressed to the peak of the Qi activation realm's 9th level. This left Old Bai truly exhilarated, silently cheering for Yifeng, hoping he could reach the merging spirit realm. However, the breakthrough phenomenon soon ended. The whole process lasted about 5 minutes. Old Bai was once again astounded by this spectacle. This cultivation speed could arguably be described as the best in the Xiantian continent. Luo Qianxue was utterly disheartened. No wonder that man was so confident before. He truly didn't need her guidance. But this thought made her feel a looming threat. Old Bai, do you think he might surpass me as the sect leader in a few days? Old Bai, hearing this, felt exceedingly awkward. It seemed he had praised Yifeng too much, denting the young Miss's confidence. He hastened to console her, assuring her that it wouldn't be the case. The higher the realm, the harder it is to advance. Not only opportunities are needed, but also resources and elixirs. Especially after reaching the foundation realm, the demands are even more significant. For Yifeng to catch up to you, young miss, there's still a long way to go. While Old Bai verbally comforted her, internally, he felt concerned. He believed Yifeng might genuinely catch up. Meanwhile, Lung Wufeng was also incredibly shocked. Is this really his unreliable senior brother? Such a formidable feat. He had broken through 9 realms in one breath. No wonder his grandfather wanted him to stay here. It seems he needs to put in more effort too. The next day, Yifeng woke up from a deep sleep. Today, he received 10,000 Tier 3 9 pattern clear mysterious pills as a spending product, but was left with only 310 spending points. Seeing this, Yifeng was filled with regret. He shouldn't have been so flamboyant the previous day, wasting 2,000 points just to detoxify his feet for a soak. However, today's spending product seemed perfect for annoying his junior. If that's the case, he wouldn't hold back. He looked forward to seeing Wufeng's reaction when asked about the effects of these pills. It would surely be entertaining. Elsewhere, Wufeng sneezed out of the blue, feeling an ominous premonition. At this moment, Yifeng arrived at his junior brother's residence, only to find him missing. He thought that Wufeng, feeling defeated from yesterday, had taken the chance to run away. Just then, Old Bai appeared, informing him that Lung Wufeng and Luo Qianxue had gone to a nearby town to buy spiritual herbs. He then offered to take Yifeng along. Seeing this, Yifeng was incredibly excited, eager to see and learn. However, what he didn't expect was that even the closest town required 5 hours of flying time. With nothing to do, he began to chat with Old Bai, asking about the uses of the bamboo demon grass, white spirit flower, and purple thunder fruit. Old Bai said that these spiritual herbs were among the rarest of 3rd-tier spiritual herbs, priceless to an alchemist. As for their uses, it's better to ask Wufeng, as he wasn't very familiar himself. Yifeng laughed, realizing how precious they actually were. No wonder when he used these herbs for a foot soak yesterday. Wufeng accused him of being wasteful. Hearing this, Old Bai abruptly halted his flying sword, staring with bewilderment. You used them for a foot soak? Yifeng grinned mischievously. Exactly. Maybe I'll let you try it sometime. It feels absolutely invigorating. Although Old Bai didn't understand where Yifeng got such precious materials from, he knew he had to get on Yifeng's good side, hoping that in the future, Yifeng would remember to share some with him. After several hours, they finally arrived at the nearby town. Old Bai, having matters to attend to, left first, promising to meet up with Yifeng later. Before leaving, he warned Yifeng not to cause any trouble. Feeling abandoned, Yifeng grumbled, "So you just brought me along for the ride." At this moment, Old Bai felt truly relieved. Now he could hang out with his friends. Later, Yifeng began to wander around, curious about everything. He even almost entered a brothel. In the end, he arrived at the Tianyu auction house, ready to indulge in some spending, but he was concerned about exposing his wealth and attracting trouble. Unexpectedly, the system took care of his worries, providing him with the Divine Tycoon's Guard. Should his life be in danger, the Divine Tycoon's Guard would appear to resolve the crisis. However, it would only eliminate threats directly endangering the host. Seeing this, Yifeng couldn't help but laugh. Truly an unbeatable spendthrift system. Now he could splurge without any worries. With that, he confidently walked into the auction house. Upon entering, he told the attendant that he had elixirs to auction off, who then introduced him to the in-charge 6th-tier alchemist named Chao Anshan. Upon meeting, Yifeng presented the fruit of his indulgence, the clear mysterious pill. Seeing this, Chao Anshan didn't think much of it. It was just a 3rd-tier elixir and wasn't worth much. However, upon closer inspection, he was taken aback. It was a 9-striped clear mysterious pill, which startled him profoundly. Confused, Yifeng asked, "Is this pill really that strong?" Chao Anshan, excitedly sarcastically replied, "Extremely powerful. Even though it's just a third-tier clear mysterious pill, the process to refine it is intricate. A single mistake could make the pill incomplete. This 9-striped version maximizes the pill's effects. Even in the market, I've only seen 8-striped ones." Yet, when it came to the number of stripes Chao Anshan was talking about, Yifeng appeared clueless and didn't understand. Chao Anshan continued to explain, "A complete elixir is of the 10-striped level. Each stripe represents 10% of its efficacy." Yifeng wasn't really listening, thinking this guy was so long-winded. Watching him boast, an impatient Yifeng just wanted to know the price. How much can this pill sell for? Only then did Chao Anshan mention the price. A regular third-tier pill costs around 100,000 lower-tier spirit stones, but this high-quality 9-striped clear mysterious pill's price was hard to determine. Only an auction could reveal its value. Yifeng was stunned. This broken pill can be worth at least 100,000 lower-tier spirit stones? He hadn't expected that, especially since he had previously spent 600,000 upper-tier spirit stones for a disciple's position and hiring Old Bai to throw a talisman. Chao Anshan was taken aback. "You refer to this 9-striped clear mysterious pill as a broken pill?" It made him feel as if he were dealing with junk. Then, Yifeng inquired when the next auction was. Chao Anshan mentioned there was one in the afternoon. With that, Yifeng handed him another 9-striped clear mysterious pill. "You directly contact the auction head and add these 2 pills to the afternoon auction. I'll collect the money later." Seeing Yifeng's arrogance, Chao Anshan was quite agitated. From a distance, Yifeng's mumbling could be heard. "I wonder which fool would bid for such an expensive pill." This left Chao Anshan feeling perplexed. Wouldn't that make him look like a fool as well? Yifeng, while walking, continued to consume clear mysterious pills. After all, he had 10,000 of them to consume today. At that moment, he noticed a stray dog nearby. Seeing the pitiful dog, Yifeng fed it a large bun, planning to adopt this little yellow. Of course, Yifeng had his motives. With only so many people including his beautiful master, Old Bai, and junior brother, they couldn't finish all the 9-striped clear mysterious pills. Now, with little yellow, they could consume them faster. Furthermore, with many more elixirs to waste in the future, little yellow could help. Unaware of the impending tragedy, little yellow was just enjoying its happy moments. Next, Yifeng decided to give little yellow a bath. Afterward, they would get to work. He took little yellow to a restaurant, but the dog was filthy. The waiter wouldn't let it in. Yifeng countered, "Just tell me how many spirit stones it costs. Give me a premium room. I want to bathe my dog." However, the waiter seemed quite firm. No amount of money would allow little yellow inside. Yifeng was frustrated. "Why are you so inflexible?" However, when Yifeng pulled out a substantial sum of spirit stones, the waiter quickly brought hot water. But Yifeng was somewhat upset. He paid 10 times the price for the room, yet the system didn't count it as wasteful behavior. Little yellow looked at him, puzzled. Yifeng urged it to clean up quickly. Once cleaned, they had to get back to work. Upon a closer look, Yifeng thought the dog was somewhat dumb. He'd need to find a way to awaken its spiritual intelligence. At that moment, Yifeng had little yellow start consuming the clear mysterious pills. Oblivious little yellow happily munched on, but it wouldn't be long before it would regret it. Yifeng was amused, planning to use little yellow as a tool to consume any wasteful elixirs or herbs. After leaving some clear mysterious pills for little yellow, Yifeng went out for a stroll. Unbeknownst to him, not long after he left, with the aid of the clear mysterious pills, little yellow awakened its spiritual intelligence. Its appearance changed significantly. A few hours later, Yifeng returned and woke the slumbering little yellow, saying, "You're really slacking. You've only eaten just over 2,000 clear mysterious pills, and you're already lazy?" Upon waking, little yellow howled in protest. It couldn't eat anymore. Seeing this, Yifeng had no choice but to sleep alongside it to help digest. Being a wasteful tycoon was truly exhausting. While little yellow slept, the thousands of clear mysterious pills were transforming it towards becoming a mythical beast. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Old Bai was chatting leisurely with an old friend, Old Xia. Old Xia began boasting, "Do you know what I just received at the auction branch? 2 special third-tier clear mysterious pills. Do you know how many stripes they have? You've been fussing about it all morning. They must be over 7-striped clear mysterious pills, right? Who refined them?" Old Xia made a 9 with his fingers. 9 stripes, and there are 2 of them. "I don't know who refined them. I only know a young man brought them to be auctioned. I've personally inspected them. They're near perfection, very close to a 10-striped pill." Old Bai was incredibly surprised. "Do you know the name of that young man?" Old Xia spread his hands. "I don't. He didn't leave his name, only the pills for auction." For some reason, Old Bai immediately thought of Yifeng, especially when Old Xia added, "From what I've heard, the young man seemed indifferent about the 2 pills." Connecting the dots, Old Bai was almost certain that it was Yifeng's doing. For a moment, he was at a loss for words and suggested they visit Yifeng. Old Xia looked puzzled. "What's so special about your lady's personal disciple?" Old Bai wasn't sure how to explain and just told him to follow along. Meanwhile, in the Tianyu auction house, Luo Qianxue was attending the auction. She happened to see Yifeng's 2 clear mysterious pills. Unaware of their origin, she intended to bid for them and then use them for Yifeng and Wufeng. Luo Qianxue's thought was to regain face in front of them, especially in in front of Yifeng. She believed he wouldn't have such a precious pill, and she looked forward to seeing him worship her for it. The thought made her laugh with delight. At that moment, Old Bai and Old Xia arrived outside Yifeng's room. After knocking for a while with no answer, Old Xia speculated, could he be asleep? Old Bai was irritated. A qualified cultivator shouldn't waste precious time sleeping. He then decisively kicked the door open and shouted for Yifeng to wake up. However, when they saw the full dog plate of clear mysterious pills on the table and the scattered remnants of clear mysterious pills on the ground, both of them were stunned. Yifeng, awakened by the noise and looking drowsy, greeted Old Bai. Why did you come over all of a sudden? Have you finished your tasks? Then noticing the dog on the floor, he chided, you silly dog, always sleeping. Why haven't you finished these pills yet? At this point, Little Yellow, showing a human-like disdain for the clear mysterious pills, kicked them away. Both Old Bai and Old Xia were stunned by this sight. These were 9-striped clear mysterious pills. They would have treasured them, yet here was a dog disdaining them. Old Xia, particularly shocked, thought, I, a 9th-tier alchemist and the hidden boss of the Tianyu auction house, am being upstaged by a dog. Old Bai, observing closely, remarked, this dog seems extraordinary. Look at the spiritual energy from the surroundings being drawn into its body. It doesn't have the bloodline of a beast, but it seems to be transforming into one. There are no impurities in its body. Old Xia, in disbelief, asked Yifeng, just how many clear mysterious pills did you feed this dog? Yifeng pondered for a moment and replied, not many, maybe about 2,000. Upon hearing Yifeng's words, Old Xia spit out a mouthful of old blood. He then, unable to contain his anger, grabbed Old Bai by the collar. Over 2,000? Is this what the disciples of Star Soul Sect are like? Feeding such precious 9-striped clear mysterious pills to a dog, and you didn't even intervene? Old Bai helplessly replied, how can I intervene? The kid is so wealthy that even I work for him. Old Xia, in disbelief, said, you, one of the 8 elders of the Star Extreme sect and a tribulation crossing realm powerhouse, are working for a disciple? Old Bai shrugged, I have no choice. He pays too well. Seeing the situation, Yifeng took the opportunity to ask Old Bai for another favor. Same old terms, 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. Without hesitation, Old Bai agreed. Just say the word. I'm still strong and can do anything. Yifeng revealed he had over 7,000 more clear mysterious pills that needed to be consumed by the end of the day. Your teeth should still be good enough, right? Old Bai confidently responded, are you joking? I'm still young. My teeth are in perfect condition. Old Xia, witnessing this exchange, was dumbfounded. You just agreed that casually, and aren't you wearing dentures? Yifeng then poured a mountain of clear mysterious pills onto the table, once again shocking Old Xia. After pouring them out, Yifeng smiled. Old Bai, dig in. Old Bai's eyes sparkled with excitement. These are 9-striped clear mysterious pills. I never thought I'd be treated to such a surprise at my age. He then started consuming the pills voraciously, crunching them loudly. Yifeng, no longer paying attention to Old Bai, turned to Little Yellow. Your turn, silly dog. Keep eating. If you don't finish by the end of the day, I'll stew you. Watching the unbelievable scene before him, Old Xia's entire worldview shifted. He wondered if he was dreaming. At that moment, Yifeng was cheering on Old Bai like a cheerleader. Old Bai, however, was starting to feel full. Although he didn't expect the clear mysterious pills to taste so good, the sheer quantity was overwhelming. For some reason, while looking at the 9-striped clear mysterious pills, Old Bai began to reminisce about the past. Back then, he struggled just to consume a single 5-striped clear mysterious pill. Thinking about this, tears streamed down his face. If only he had acquired these 9-striped pills 60 years earlier, his cultivation foundation would have been even stronger. Yifeng thought Old Bai was crying because he was too full, so he comforted him. If you can't eat anymore, it's okay. You'll still get the 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. Old Xia intervened. Kid, you don't understand. If back in the day, Old Bai and I had access to the 9-striped clear mysterious pills, we probably would have passed the 9-tiered thunder tribulation and ascended long ago. We wouldn't be in this hopeless situation now. Both of the old fellows were only at the 3rd tier of the tribulation crossing realm. Although they could potentially cross the 4th tribulation, their foundations were too weak to risk it. Understanding their predicament, Yifeng said, in that case, could you perhaps assist Old Bai in the future? I'll still compensate you with 100,000 top-grade spirit stones, including for this time. Hearing this, Old Xia was flabbergasted, his previous sorrow disappearing instantly. He rubbed his hands together and asked, even though I'm not from your sect, can I still participate? Yifeng nodded, signaling it was okay. Seeing this, Old Xia eagerly approached the pile of clear mysterious pills. Just like that, the 2 old men and the dog began their pill gorging session. Yet, Yifeng felt the consumption speed was still too slow and wondered when his master and junior brother Wufeng would arrive. Old Bai, with a full belly, inquired, the 2 clear mysterious pills at Tianyu auction house were yours, weren't they? Yifeng confirmed, yes, I placed those mediocre pills there just to see who the fool would be to buy them. Old Xia was dumbfounded. A single pill selling for 1 million low-grade spirit stones is not considered expensive, yet you put it up for auction just to mock the buyer? Meanwhile, Luo Qian Qianxue, holding the 2 purchased pills, was hurrying towards Yifeng. Wufeng was thrilled, not expecting their master to be so generous, and eagerly raced to Yifeng's room to share the news. Luo Qianxue was also quite smug, eagerly anticipating Yifeng's reaction. She thought, regardless of your wealth, I doubt you could get the 9 striped clear mysterious pills. However, when she reached Yifeng's door, she saw Wufeng frozen in place, pointing shakily at the scene inside. It was Yifeng and the others, eating the pills. The revelation crushed Luo Qianxue, the pain unbearable. Wufeng, in shock, asked, Master, what's wrong? It was only then that the people inside noticed Luo Qianxue and Wufeng. Seeing the 2 pill boxes in their hands, Old Bai and Old Xiao realized the extent of Luo Qianxue's mistake. She had overpaid for the pills, and after an explanation, she learned the pills she painstakingly won at auction were the same casually placed there by her own disciple. Luo Qianxue, whether in shock or humor, began to laugh. She had hoped to turn the tables, but it turned out she was the joke. Turning to Old Bai, she asked, Isn't it funny? Old Bai, not knowing how to respond, tried to console her. You did it for their sake. There's nothing wrong with what you did. Thankfully, Wufeng interrupted, asking Yifeng, Can I eat these clear mysterious pills too? I want to join the pill gorging. Both Old Bai and Old Xiao were overjoyed, hoping someone else would help share the burden as they were feeling sick from overeating. Yifeng encouraged Wufeng to eat as many as he wanted. Wufeng, drooling with anticipation, seemed oblivious to the consequences and eagerly lunged at the pills. However, at that moment, a pill at the edge of the table fell to the ground, landing right next to Lil Yellow. Seeing this, Wufeng became extremely anxious. This was the 9-pattern clear mysterious pill. If the dog ate it, he would be heartbroken. Yet the very next second, he was stunned. Little Yellow, already satiated, unceremoniously kicked the pill away, even showing a very human-like expression of disdain. Witnessing this scene, Wufeng was completely shocked. At this time, Old Xiao approached Luo Qianxue and advised, Sect Leader Luo, as Yifeng's master, you really need to manage him. Such precious 9-pattern clear mysterious pills, and he's fed over 2,000 to a little dog. It's absolutely wasteful. Upon hearing this, both Wufeng and Luo Qianxue were dumbfounded. Yifeng helplessly said, Who told the dog to eat faster than humans? At this, Wufeng felt a pang of envy. He actually felt less fortunate than a dog. Yifeng then urged everyone to eat up quickly, pointing to the huge pile remaining. Luo Qianxue didn't know what to say as she looked at the scene. How did she end up with such a disciple? An hour later, Old Bai, Old Xia, and Wufeng were all defeated. Their bellies full, they couldn't eat another bite. Yifeng was somewhat frustrated. There were still more than 2,000 pills left. Seeing this, he looked at his master with pleading eyes. Luo Qianxue firmly refused. It was a joke. This would damage her master's dignity. Yifeng could only beg for her help, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to complete the task. Luo Qianxue suggested that he keep the remaining pills. She could send them to her father's sect, where they would certainly cultivate many talents. Yifeng would have agreed, but the problem was that he only had 1 day left. He couldn't possibly deliver them in time. Not willing to give up, Luo Qianxue offered to buy the remaining pills at 10 times the price and then send them to her father's sect. But as soon as she spoke, she received skeptical looks from Old Bai and the others. Are you sure you want to talk money with Yifeng? Luo Qianxue felt incredibly embarrassed. She almost forgot this guy had plenty of money. In the end, to persuade Luo Qianxue to consume the remaining pills, Yifeng even arranged the pills into a heart shape on a plate surrounded by roses. The room was instantly filled with a floral scent. Blushing, Luo Qianxue picked up a clear mysterious pill. Given the circumstances, she felt she had no choice but to eat. At that moment, the clear mysterious pills were finally consumed by everyone. Each person roughly consumed over 2,000 pills, and Yifeng received his reward. He earned 300 wasteful points for hiring the 2 old guys. For consuming all the produced items today, he gained 1,000 wasteful points. He was also rewarded with 3 9-grade soul-returning herbs and 5 9-grade golden silkworm star shining stones. Today's wastefulness was executed perfectly. Yifeng was also pleasantly surprised, didn't expect the additional rewards. At this point, Luo Qianxue began to lament to Old Bai, Do you find my role as a sect leader or master meaningful? I don't guide in cultivation nor provide resources. When I have nothing to do, I can still make some profit from Yifeng. Old Bai was also quite helpless. Yifeng doesn't act like a disciple at all. He's more like the money god of the sect, albeit a bit too wasteful. At this time, Yifeng asked Old Xia, Do you know what the 9-leaf soul-returning herb is? Unexpectedly, Old Xia became extremely excited upon hearing it. I'm very familiar with this. It's the legendary spiritual herb. He then went on to educate Yifeng about it. Each leaf of the soul-returning herb represents its medicinal effect. The more leaves, the more potent it is. He mentioned that he had never even seen a single-leaf soul-returning herb, let alone a 9-leaf one. The soul-returning herb is the most essential ingredient in the crafting of the soul-returning life-saving pill. As long as you've been dead for no more than 24 hours, even if your soul is annihilated, the pill can bring you back. It's incredibly powerful. The life-saving pill is the most desperately needed medicine for any tribulation-crossing realm expert. With the protection of this pill, even if they fail to cross the tribulation, their souls will remain intact. They can then find a way to recreate their physical bodies and come back to life. It's like being able to hop back and forth between the living and the underworld. But why do you ask? By now, Old Bai sensed something amiss. Wondering if Yifeng might possess the herb, he covertly asked Old Xia, "Do you know about bamboo demon grass, white spirit flower, and purple thunder fruit?" Old Xia acknowledged that he did, noting that these spiritual plants, although rare, can still be found in small quantities within major sects and aren't too extraordinary. Old Bai then revealed how Yifeng used these herbs for a foot soak the previous day. Old Xia was absolutely astounded, exclaiming that it was a huge waste. While comforting his old friend, Old Bai discreetly told Yifeng, "You must have the 9-leaf soul-returning herb, right? Please don't use it for a foot soak this time. It's a legendary spiritual herb." Yifeng murmured, "But I have 3 of them. Using one for a soak isn't a big deal, right?" Hearing this, Old Xia became anxious. "Absolutely not." He urgently told Yifeng, "If you truly have 3 9-leaf soul-returning herbs, please sell them to me. I'm willing to spend all my assets. It's a life-saving herb. If you really use it for a foot soak, it would be absolutely insane." Seeing the situation, Yifeng walked over to Luo Chenxue, took out a soul-returning herb, and handed it to her, saying, "This is a token of respect from your disciple." At this point, Luo Chenxue didn't even know what to say. Not only did Yifeng spend 100,000 top-grade spirit stones to become her direct disciple, he also gifted her 400,000 as a token of respect for becoming his master. Now, he was also gifting her a legendary spiritual herb. It felt as though she was just mooching off him. Unexpectedly, Luo Chenxue's thoughts took a risque turn, wondering if she would have to offer her body to him in gratitude in the future. She felt as if she was being taken care of by her disciple. "No," she thought, "I can't accept this soul-returning herb." But then she realized that she too would need the life-saving pill when it came time for her to cross the tribulation. Yifeng then decided on the distribution of the remaining 2 herbs, one for his foot soak, and the other for Old Bai. As long as he did some manual labor, Old Bai was overjoyed that he was included. However, Old Xia inquired, "Are you sure you only want manual labor? Consider me. I'm quite strong, you know? Don't be fooled by my appearance." Seeing the transformed muscular Old Xia, Yifeng was startled. Old Bai grew anxious, confronting Old Xia. "What are you trying to do? That soul-returning herb is mine. Don't even think about it." The two were at loggerheads, both wanting the herb. Meanwhile, Wufeng, having eaten too much, listened to their discussion and wondered if he should shamelessly ask his senior brother Yifeng if he could join in on the foot soak. Old Xia then approached Luo Chenxue. He invoked a historical reference, saying, "In ancient times, there was LV Feng Xian paying respects to his adoptive father. Now there's Xia Tianyu pledging allegiance." Yes, Old Xia wanted to join the Star Soul sect. "I've wandered for half my life regretting not joining a sect. If you, young Chenxue, don't mind, can I join your sect as an honorary elder?" Luo Chenxue was flabbergasted. "Old Xia, you're a 9th-grade alchemist and a mighty tribulation-crossing realm expert. Moreover, your Tianyu auction house is spread all over the Xiantian continent. Are you sure you want to join our modest Star Soul sect?" Old Xia affirmed his intentions. To ensure his entry, he even brought up past events. "Little girl, I held you when you were a baby. If you refuse, I'll go to your father." Luo Chenxue was speechless. Old Xia had his reasons. Seeing Yifeng casually gifting and using legendary herbs, it was clear he had many treasures. If Old Xia didn't build a relationship now, he might miss out in the future. Luo Chenxue asked with confusion, "What about the auction house business, Old Xia?" Old Xia replied, "I'll leave it to my good-for-nothing son." Old Bai was impressed, admitting defeat to his old friend's audacious move. Old Xia smirked and said, "I love the look on your face when you can't stand me but can't do anything about it. As for the soul-returning herb, it'll depend on everyone's performance from now on." This made Luo Chenxue so mad she felt like spitting blood. She never wanted to expand her sect. First, 2 unexpected disciples, and now a 9th-grade alchemist. How was she supposed to focus on her cultivation and ascend to the higher realm to seek revenge? Just then, Yifeng, ever the instigator, asked, "Does anyone know about the golden silkworm star shining stone?" This time, it was even more shocking. Both Old Bai and Old Xia, as well as Luo Chenxue, exclaimed, "You have a golden silkworm star shining stone?" Startled, Yifeng quickly denied, "I don't have it. I was just asking." But the 3 of them already knew his style. He definitely had the stone. Wufeng commented, "Senior brother, where did you get all these treasures from?" Just as everyone was pondering, Luo Chenxue received a notification. There seemed to be some issue at the sect. They had to rush back. It turned out her father had arrived with important matters to discuss. However, she knew he was here to inspect the progress of the sect. A few hours later, upon their return to Star Soul sect, they were greeted by her father, Luo Wuming, who immediately said, "You have disappointed me greatly." Seeing her father like this, Luo Chenxue thought something was seriously wrong, but Luo Wuming vented his frustration. "It was the recruitment day for the Star Soul sect recently. I wanted to visit during the celebrations, but there wasn't even someone to serve tea. I prepared so many gifts and waited a whole day without seeing anyone. If I hadn't sent you a message, I'd probably still be waiting." meeting. Luo Qianxue was embarrassed and introduced Yifeng and Leng Wufeng to her father, who said, "I didn't take any disciples. These two are my disciples." She felt a bit relieved that she had them as a shield. She then tried to appease her father. "Please don't be upset. See, I even took Yifeng as my direct disciple." Although Luo Qianxue was the reincarnation of a holy maiden, in her previous life she had no parents. This time, she wanted to cherish the love of her parents. Seeing her gesture, Luo Wuming took a closer look at Yifeng. He was quite surprised. His daughter had never been concerned about anything, and he didn't expect her to take a direct disciple. He inquired, "How's his spiritual root, Luo Qianxue?" She replied, "He has no spiritual root." Luo Wuming then asked, "What about his talent?" She responded, "He has no innate talent either." Luo Wuming now had a bewildered expression on his face. After hearing that Yifeng's cultivation level was also just average, Luo Wuming spat out, "What on earth made him your direct disciple?" Yifeng stepped forward and explained, "I bought the position with 500,000 high-quality spirit stones." Luo Wuming was flabbergasted. "Is that even possible? This is just too casual. Daughter, if you needed money, you could have just asked me. There's no need to do it this way." At this moment, Old Bai and Old Xia were vying to win Yifeng's favor. Old Xia even pulled out a stool for Yifeng to sit and rest. Old Bai was speechless. "Old man, have you forgotten martial etiquette?" Then Old Bai also made a move, offering massages and serving tea. Seeing their antics, Luo Wuming was utterly confused. He exclaimed, "Bai Tianhong, aren't you an elder of my Star Extreme sect? And Xia Tianyu, what are you doing at my daughter's sect?" After a half-hour-long explanation, Luo Wuming finally got an understanding of recent events, the 9-pattern clear mysterious pill, the 9-leaf soul-returning herb, and so on. He was so amazed he exclaimed, "Truly a god of wealth. Not only for my daughter's Star Soul sect, but even for my own Star Extreme sect. I would treat him with reverence." Old Bai nodded in agreement, suspecting that Yifeng might be from a certain special place. But Luo Wuming interrupted him, "Don't mention that place." Then he looked at his daughter, "As long as you're all fine, I'm content. I came to see how you're doing." That evening, as Yifeng was resting, Wufeng excitedly brought some foot-soaking water for him. Seeing this, Yifeng knew Wufeng's intentions. "Do you want to soak your feet too?" Wufeng replied, "Senior brother, you go first. I'll soak mine after you're done." Yifeng chuckled, "I'm not a stingy person. Bring another basin of water. Let's split the 9-leaf soul-returning herb in half, and each of us can have a share." Upon hearing this, Wufeng was moved to tears. "Senior brother, you're so good to me." What they didn't know was that Old Bai and Old Xia were secretly watching them from the rooftop. Seeing Yifeng using the precious herb to soak his feet, Old Xia felt his heart breaking. A day had passed since Yifeng soaked his feet. The legendary spiritual herb was truly powerful. Just by soaking his feet, both his body and soul were purified significantly. He now had a total of 2,510 wasteful points, and today's wasteful product was refreshed to be 10,000 fragments of Underworld Sword Intent. Confused, Yifeng took one out, unfamiliar with its use. To test it, he called over Little Yellow and placed the Underworld Sword Intent fragment on its forehead. Immediately, a gust of wind surged as the idea of the Underworld Sword Intent emerged in Little Yellow's mind. However, from the outside, Yifeng didn't see anything special, but with his years of bookworm experience, he knew from its name alone that this must be a valuable item. He then asked the system if he could use the wasteful product, but was rejected. If he wanted to use it himself, a significant number of his wasteful points would be deducted. Yifeng felt troubled. Using it himself seemed impossible, and he couldn't ask others for help either. If they kept it hidden and he didn't retrieve it in time, it would be problematic. Thinking this, he hugged Little Yellow and went back to his room. Elsewhere, Luo Wuming was suggesting that Yifeng and Wufeng head to the Heavenly Dao battlefield for some experience. Luo Qianxue was slightly worried. While she trusted Yifeng, she was more concerned about Wufeng's safety. Luo Wuming assured her that he would select a few inner disciples from Star Extreme sect to accompany them. However, he was curious as to why she had so much faith in Yifeng. Despite having many treasures, wasn't Yifeng just a mortal? In the Heavenly Dao battlefield, even the weakest cultivator or beast could easily kill him. Luo Qianxue clarified that while Yifeng lacked spiritual roots, he had cultivated to the 9th peak of the Qi activation realm, and his spirit sea was 20 times larger than hers. This left Luo Wuming in disbelief. Luo Qianxue had set a record in the Star Extreme sect for the size of her spirit sea. How could a mortal without spiritual roots possess a spirit sea 20 times hers? Suddenly, a powerful surge of sword intent erupted, drawing the attention of the two, as well as Wufeng and Old Xia. They rushed to the scene, thinking an expert with underworld sword intent was attacking, and readied themselves. However, upon arriving, they found no such expert. Luo Qianxue pointed out, "Isn't that Yifeng?" Everyone looked and saw Yifeng playing frisbee with a dog that was emitting a powerful sword intent. The sight left Luo Wuming and the elders in shock. The one possessing the underworld sword intent was a dog. Who would believe this if they hadn't seen it themselves? stones. Yifeng looked at them puzzled. Why are you here? Luo Qianxue inquired about the underworld sword intent and whether Little Yellow had comprehended it on his own. Yifeng replied, how is that possible? He's too dumb to comprehend it. I just had some fragments of the underworld sword intent, so I used it on him. Upon hearing this, everyone was dumbfounded. Such a waste. Yifeng became a bit nervous, seeing the master and old Xia looking at him as if they were about to scold him. Luo Qianxue explained that the underworld sword intent was extremely rare. Even in the heavenly Dao battlefield, obtaining it was no easy task. It all depended on one's luck, yet he casually used such precious fragments on a dog. Even if he was being wasteful, he should know his limits. Yifeng, curious, asked about the heavenly Dao battlefield. Luo Qianxue explained that their current location, the Xiantian continent, was just one of many lower realms. Every lower realm could access the heavenly Dao battlefield, and based on their strength, they would be sent to different areas. No one knew how the battlefield came to be, but it was known to be filled with many cultivation resources, legacies, treasures, etc. Apart from threats from beings of other dimensions, the native beasts inside were also very powerful, and one could easily meet their end there. After hearing this, Yifeng's system issued a new mission to go to the second layer of the heavenly Dao battlefield and slay 100 beasts at the 9th peak of the Qi activation realm. Seeing the reward of a massive number of wasteful points, Yifeng was certainly interested. However, he currently had abundant spiritual power but lacked martial skills and combat experience. What should he do? At that moment, Luo Wuming asked, Yifeng, how many fragments of underworld sword intent did you use on the dog? Observing the dog, he could see it had reached the pinnacle of sword intent and was on the verge of breaking through to the sword heart realm. It reminded him that even the ancestor of the Star Extreme sect took hundreds of years of dedicated cultivation and many fortuitous encounters to reach the sword heart realm, and the sword intent he comprehended was even inferior to the underworld sword intent. The dog's progress was defying the heavens. Yifeng laughed and said, not many, just about 10,000 pieces. Upon hearing this, the four of them stared fiercely at Yifeng, as if they wanted to tear him apart right there and then. 10,000 pieces? You are insanely wasteful. Something everyone desires, and you gave it to a dog. Yifeng replied defensively, I'm sorry, but in his heart, he thought, I would do it again if given the chance. Good thing I didn't ask them for help. It would have been a huge waste of time. Luo Qianxue, trying to contain her anger, told her father to take Yifeng away before she lost control and slapped him to death. Luo Wuming then led Yifeng away. Curious, Yifeng asked, where are we going? Luo Wuming replied, Star Soul Sect was only established for Qianxue to hone her temperament. The real sect behind it is Star Extreme Sect. At this moment, Luo Wuming was leading Yifeng to the Star Extreme Sect. They planned to join the senior brothers in the Heaven's Way battlefield later. Seeing the opportunity, Yifeng quickly asked if the Star Extreme Sect was powerful. Did they need any assistance? Were the sect members well fed? Perhaps he could gift everyone some spiritual stones to spend. But the more Yifeng spoke, the angrier Luo Wuming became. Turning around, he shouted, shut up. Our Star Extreme Sect is a holy land, very wealthy, and doesn't need your concern. They stopped at an inn for the night. Yifeng was looking forward to seeing what extravagant items he could spend on the next day. Upon waking up, he hastily opened his system. It showed that the wasteful item for the day was 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones. Relieved, Yifeng thought that it shouldn't be too hard to spend just that amount. Next, he wanted to draw a martial skill. After specifying an upper-tier human-level martial skill and spending 100 wasteful points, he obtained the Fire Dragon Fist technique. Feeling lucky, Yifeng thought about how he usually needed several tries to get something of this caliber, but he was dumbfounded the next moment. The system indicated that the Fire Dragon Fist required fire elemental spiritual energy to use. Panicking, Yifeng thought about where he could find fire elemental spiritual energy as someone without a spiritual root. The system suggested he try changing his energy type. To his surprise, Yifeng could transform his spiritual energy into any attribute. Just as he was about to test the power of the Fire Dragon Fist, he heard Master Luo Wuming calling him, signaling it was time to move on. As they traveled, Yifeng started to throw the spiritual stones into the air. The flying Luo Wuming, using his flying sword, looked back in astonishment. Yifeng, what are you doing? Yifeng replied, I'm bestowing gifts from the sky, creating windfalls for the lucky. Luo Wuming was visibly irritated. Even if you have a lot, you shouldn't be this wasteful. One day when you have nothing left, you'll regret this. Suddenly serious, Yifeng asked, Master, do you know what the most painful thing in life is? For someone devoted to swordsmanship, it's dying without comprehending the true essence of the sword. For an alchemist, it's dying without creating a legendary elixir. For a formation master, it's not creating the most powerful formation before death. So, Master, for me, the most painful thing would be to die with money unspent. And with that, Yifeng continued to throw spiritual stones as they journeyed on. Not long after, they arrived at Star Extreme Sect. Compared to the desolate Star Soul Sect, the Star Extreme Sect was the epitome of luxury. Luo Wuming first approached Manager Song, entrusting Yifeng to him and mentioning that in a few days, Yifeng would join the sect's disciples to head to Heaven's Way battlefield. With that, he swiftly departed. Seeing this, Yifeng greeted Manager Song and asked for his care and guidance. While arranging accommodations, Yifeng overheard some commotion nearby. He inquired about the situation, only to learn that today was the day for the outer sect and inner sect disciples to compete. If Yifeng wished, he could watch the matches. Coincidentally, his system released a new mission to take over a platform and defeat 100 opponents of the same realm. Success would reward him with 500 wasteful points, while failure would cost him the same amount. Excited at the prospect of earning these points, Yifeng was eager to take on the challenge. Arriving at the battle platform, he claimed an empty one for himself. Seeing this, the Star Extreme sect disciples were puzzled. They could tell that Yifeng wasn't one of them, and some speculated that he might be from another sect challenging them. After stepping onto the platform, Yifeng introduced himself. I am at the pinnacle of Qi Activation Realm's 9th stage and am Luo Qianshue's direct senior disciple. Today, I'm here to hold this platform, and I hope my fellow disciples will show me consideration. Upon hearing this, the crowd was astonished. This young man was the Sacred Lady's direct disciple. Moments later, a disciple named Meng Yang, who was in the same realm as Yifeng, stepped forward. From the reactions of the crowd, it was evident that Meng Yang had some reputation. Without any reservation, Meng Yang proudly asked, I reached the pinnacle of the Qi Activation Realm's 9th stage in just 3 years. How long did it take you, Brother Yi? Yifeng replied casually, not long at all. From the opening of my Spirit Sea to its pinnacle, it took me about 10 minutes, and from there to the pinnacle of Qi Activation Realm's 9th stage, perhaps a little over 20 minutes. Upon hearing Yifeng's claim, Meng Yang was completely taken aback. What the hell are you talking about? Are you mocking me? Facing Yifeng's boastful words, no one believed him. They all suspected that Yifeng was daydreaming, not to mention breaking through so many realms in just over 20 minutes. Some joked that they spent more time in the restroom. Many felt that Yifeng was being too arrogant. Some even believed that someone as arrogant as Yifeng was not fit to be the direct disciple of the Sacred Lady. However, Yifeng paid no heed to their doubts and remarks. Believe it or not, he thought. The next moment, Meng Yang initiated the first attack, lunging at Yifeng. This provided a perfect opportunity for Yifeng to test out his Fire Dragon Fist. In an instant, an apparition of a fiery dragon manifested, astonishing everyone. Meng Yang was especially shocked by this unexpected turn of events. With no route of escape, he chose to fight head-on, summoning his longsword and slashing at the fiery dragon. Immediately, a massive disturbance erupted on the dual platform, even affecting the bystanders. However, despite their best efforts, they couldn't withstand Yifeng's impressive surge of spiritual energy. Someone then noticed that the fiery dragon apparition had not disappeared and was still relentlessly pursuing Meng Yang. Panicking, Meng Yang exclaimed, how the hell do you even fight this? I want to go home to my mom. On the other side, Yifeng looked utterly relaxed. He struck what he believed to be a cool pose and continuously chanted, Fire Dragon Fist. In no time, multiple fiery dragon apparitions emerged, all glaring ominously at Meng Yang. Terrified, Meng Yang cried out, where did this monster come from? He then decisively jumped off the platform, admitting defeat. Yifeng, with the confidence of a martial arts master, wanted to ask just one question, who's next? I want to defeat 100. At that moment, Yifeng was having the time of his life. Relying on his seemingly infinite spiritual energy, he recklessly deployed the Fire Dragon Fist. This resulted in massive explosions across the arena, frightening all the disciples and making them flee in terror. Seeing the chaos, Manager Song was exasperated. I shouldn't have brought this guy here, he lamented, noting the damage to the sect's properties. However, Yifeng wasn't in the mood to care about Manager Song's worries. Reveling in the euphoria of battle, he was determined to experience the thrill of a fantasy world. Seeing the situation unfold, Manager Song immediately ordered over 200 disciples, all at the Qi Activation Realm's 9th peak, to subdue Yifeng. The disciples were astounded. Is Yifeng really going to take on over 200 of us? No wonder he was taken as a direct disciple by the Sacred Lady. He's terrifyingly powerful. If he wins this battle, he'll surely secure a place in the dragon ranking in the future. Some disciples were eagerly anticipating the outcome, thinking, if he wins this, he'll become famous overnight. But if he loses, he'll be utterly humiliated. Manager Song took the lead, instructing the disciples to raise a spiritual barrier. A massive energy shield appeared in front of them. Yifeng was taken aback. Can they even do that? Even though I have abundant spiritual energy, I don't think I can break it with just my human-level martial art technique. Subsequently, Yifeng began to draw upon more powerful martial techniques. After spending 700 points, he acquired an Earth-level superior martial technique, the 9 Radiance Thunder Lotus. Yet, Yifeng wasn't satisfied with just one technique. Spending another 900 points, he obtained a Water Dragon chant. Still feeling it wasn't enough, he drew again and, after expending another 700 points, acquired the wind whirls the raging sands technique. Now he had gathered techniques from multiple elements, and finally felt content. Yifeng initiated his attack with the 9 Radiance Thunder Lotus. In an instant, a lotus-shaped apparition materialized overhead. He then unleashed the Water Dragon chant, and a Water Dragon apparition emerged. The disciples began to panic. What kind of monster is he? He possesses not only the fire element, but now thunder and water as well. That means he has 3 spiritual roots. Just when the disciples thought it was over, Yifeng unleashed the wind attribute technique, Wind Whirls the Raging Sands. He combined the 3 techniques and aimed them directly at the spiritual barrier. The disciples immediately plunged into chaos, realizing they couldn't fend him off. Manager Song was dumbstruck. Not just 3 spiritual roots, could Yifeng actually possess 4 spiritual roots? However, Yifeng surprised everyone once more by using another thunder attribute technique. At this moment, the protective barrier formed by the 200 disciples shattered. Seeing this, Yifeng let out a triumphant laugh. In the end, all 200 disciples voluntarily surrendered, realizing they stood no chance against him. The overseer floating in midair was equally astonished. He had initially wanted to suppress Yifeng's momentum, but had not anticipated Yifeng's abundant spiritual energy and his mastery of several Earth-level superior martial techniques. This young man will surely rank in the top 10 of the dragon ranking in the future, he thought. However, Yifeng didn't stop. Who else dares to challenge me? He taunted. The disciples were utterly flabbergasted, wondering how he still had so much energy left. Meanwhile, inside the sect's grand hall, Luo Wuming summoned several core disciples. They all looked puzzled, not knowing the reason for their sudden summon. Luo Wuming stepped forward to explain, I wanted to inform you that soon, you will have a new junior disciple. However, he's currently only at the Qi Activation Realm's 9th peak. You'll need to take extra care of him. Hearing this, the room erupted in animated discussions. Our Star Extreme sect is among the top sects on the Xiantian continent. To become a core disciple, one must have exceptional talent, comprehension, and spiritual roots. Chen Haoyu then inquired, Master Luo, can you tell us about the exceptional qualities of this new junior disciple? Luo Wuming, with a resigned gesture, replied, all you need to remember is that he is very rich, extremely rich, and he spends a lot, excessively so. Upon hearing this, the few individuals were stunned. What the hell? Is that considered a special quality? No matter how rich he is, he couldn't possibly be wealthier than our sect, right? Master, you must be joking with us. Luo Wuming wasn't quite sure how to further explain, thinking that they would understand after spending some time with Yifeng. He continued, after Yifeng completes his training in the Heaven's Way battlefield, he will return to the Star Soul sect with you all. He also emphasized to them the potential benefits of being in Yifeng's good graces. While interacting with this junior disciple, keep your eyes peeled. If you can get something from him, it will surely be of great value. Luo Wuming couldn't help but think of Little Yellow, the dog, and praised himself for his intelligence. By relying on Yifeng, he could nurture a 5 unparalleled expert and allocate resources to train other disciples in the Holy Land. Luo Wuming chuckled proudly and even took a jab at the core disciples. Compared to him, you all are not even as good as a dog. If any of you had obtained that underworld sword intent, you could have soared to new heights. The core disciples looked at each other in confusion, not understanding Luo Wuming's point. Some things can only be understood through experience. I'll take you to meet the junior disciple now. On the way to meet Yifeng, Luo Wuming reminded the core disciples again to be astute. This junior disciple is like a god of wealth for you all. Some of the disciples whispered among themselves, discussing Yifeng's feat of battling 200 individuals alone and possessing not only 4 elemental roots but also 3 earth-level superior martial techniques. Brother Yifeng is truly terrifying, they murmured. Listening to the whispers, Luo Wuming felt like he might have missed some crucial information. Chen Haoyu asked again, Master, are you sure the junior disciple's only remarkable qualities are his wasteful spending and wealth? Luo Wuming spread his hands in resignation. I really don't know. All I'm certain of is that he's incredibly rich and extremely spendthrift. The 5 of them were utterly flabbergasted. Are you even our sect master? You don't even know about this junior disciple, and yet you're giving him the status of a core disciple? Moments later, they arrived at the dueling platform and saw the wreckage. They were puzzled. Wasn't today just supposed to be a friendly spar between the inner and outer disciples? How did it turn into this massive battle? Luo Wuming turned to ask Manager Song, what happened here? The next moment, Manager Song began to fervently exclaim. He made a name for himself in just one battle, showing an invincible demeanor. Sect Master, Yifeng, with his own power, fought against over 200 disciples of the same realm and triumphed overwhelmingly. Hearing this, the core disciples were completely stunned. They couldn't believe that Yifeng had single-handedly defeated over 200 peers of the same realm. Luo Wuming quickly asked Manager Song for details. 2 minutes later, he understood the whole situation. Suddenly, he recalled his daughter once mentioned that Yifeng's spirit sea was 20 times larger than hers. Initially, he didn't believe it, but now he did. Considering his daughter's spirit sea was 20 times larger than an average person's, this meant that Yifeng had a spirit sea that was 20 times hers, making his spiritual power equivalent to that of 4 400 peers. Thinking back to the recent days, he realized he had forgotten to check Yifeng's spirit C status, which was quite a negligence on his part. The core disciples gathered around, feeling utterly overshadowed. Could someone's internal spiritual energy really reach such a terrifying level? Moreover, he's rich, spends recklessly, possesses 4 elemental roots, and has mastered 3 earth-level superior martial techniques. They mused. Looking at Luo Wuming with a mix of sorrow and accusation, they said, "Sect Master, are you sure this is the same junior disciple you said had no special qualities?" Luo Wuming was at a loss for words. He truly didn't know about Yifeng's capabilities. At that moment, Chen Haoyu inquired Manager Song, "Where did the junior disciple go?" Manager Song replied, "He went back to his residence in the Inner Peak's 111th courtyard." After learning the address of the junior disciple, the core disciples hurried to meet this incredible young disciple, leaving Luo Wuming behind. At this time, the gossipy side of Manager Song surfaced, and he asked Luo Wuming if he was planning to accept Yifeng as the 6th core disciple of the sect. Hearing this, Luo Wuming warned sternly, "Manager Song, you mustn't inform the 3 ancestral elders about this. Yifeng is my daughter's personal disciple, and no one can take him away." Manager Song spread his hands and said helplessly, "Even if I don't inform them, it's pointless. Yifeng's achievements have already spread throughout the sect. Not just the 3 ancestral elders, but the other 4 great ancestral elders also know." Seeing this, Luo Wuming sighed. "This will be troublesome. Let's see how the kid decides." Meanwhile, Yifeng was leisurely basking in the sun when suddenly several figures appeared, startling him. "Who are you gentlemen, and what do you want here?" It turned out to be Chen Haoyu and the others rushing towards him. Yifeng was taken aback. "What do you all want?" Moments later, each of them introduced themselves. Eldest brother Chen Haoyu, second sister Xia Tiantian, third brother Zhao Tianming, fourth brother Xing Fei, and fifth sister Du Tianyu. Yifeng looked puzzled. "Aren't I Luo Qianshua's personal disciple? Why have I suddenly become a junior of the entire sect?" Chen Haoyu explained that it was Luo Wuming's arrangement. Yifeng then realized that the 2 identities weren't in conflict. He was not only Luo Qianshua's chief disciple, but also the 6th core disciple of Star Extreme sect. He then thought of a way to show off and consulted his system. "It's my first time meeting my brothers and sisters. Can I give them some gifts? Considering their exceptional talents, shouldn't I gift them at least 100,000 high-quality spiritual stones?" The system pondered for a moment and confirmed it was within bounds. Yifeng couldn't wait, and the others mistook his excitement for astonishment at their unparalleled talents. Fifth sister Du Tianyu cried tears of joy, thinking that she finally wasn't the youngest and now had a junior to bully. Yifeng then turned to them and said, "Brothers and sisters, since we're meeting for the first time, here's a small token of my appreciation." He then handed each of them a ring. They were all stunned. Chen Haoyu was the first to inspect the gift and was immensely surprised to find 100,000 high-quality spiritual stones. The others were equally shocked when they found the same in their rings. Conventionally, as senior disciples, they should be the ones giving gifts to their junior. However, they were now receiving 100,000 high-quality spiritual stones from him, leaving them at a loss for words. They recalled Luo Wuming's words, "This junior disciple is rich, incredibly rich." And with that, Yifeng achieved his goal of spending lavishly, earning himself 200 points for wasteful spending and 100 enlightenment pills. To his surprise, such actions could yield special rewards. He then checked the information about the enlightenment pill. It was a rankless pill that, upon consumption, would grant immediate enlightenment lasting for 20 minutes. However, the reward items couldn't be used to earn wasteful spending points. Yifeng was a little disappointed. It seemed he couldn't use these pills to further his lavish spending. Nevertheless, he handed each of his senior disciples an enlightenment pill. Holding the pills, they asked in confusion, "Junior brother, what is this?" Yifeng explained the effects of the pill. Upon hearing it, they were astonished. "Is this really a pill that induces immediate enlightenment?" Yifeng encouraged them to try it, assuring them of its 20-minute effect. Although skeptical, they trusted their junior brother wouldn't prank them, so they decisively consumed the pill. The next moment, all 5 of them entered a state of enlightenment. At this time, Luo Wuming happened to come by and was taken aback by the scene. Just as he was about to say something, Yifeng interrupted. Luo Wuming asked, "Why are they cultivating in your room?" Yifeng explained about the enlightenment pills. Seeing this, Luo Wuming felt an itching desire to have some. Yifeng, noticing his eagerness, handed over 5 pills, adding, "The rest are reserved for my pet dog." Luo Wuming, hearing this, rebuked, "You're giving such a precious pill to a dog? Have you lost your mind?" Yifeng felt helpless. "Although it's valuable, it doesn't earn me points for wasteful spending. It's useless to me." Luo Wuming, determined to prevent Yifeng from wasting the pills on his dog, decided to buy all of Yifeng's enlightenment pills and asked for a price. He even mentioned giving a family discount. However, Yifeng still refused, stating that he needed to feed his dog or he would feel bad. He imagined his dog arguing back, saying it didn't want any pills. Seeing Yifeng's firm stance, Luo Wuming didn't press further. He then informed Yifeng that the 5 great ancestral elder wanted to meet him, possibly to take him as a disciple, and advised him to make his decision carefully. Afterward, they arrived at the cave cave mansion on the back mountain. Luo Wuming led Yifeng to pay respects to the 5 great ancestral elder. The great ancestral elder, Luo Qianqing, spoke first, facing a solo battle against 200 peers from the same realm, mastering 3 advanced earth techniques, all while possessing a quad spirit root. Such a prodigy should be cultivated with all our might. The ancestral elders then surrounded Yifeng to examine him. Moments later, they learned that Yifeng was indeed at the peak of the Qi activation realm and possessed a formidable spirit sea. But they were stupefied when they couldn't detect any spirit roots in him, even though he should have had 4. The ancestral elders were shocked. How could Yifeng manifest 4 types of spiritual Qi without any spirit roots? How did he form a spirit sea and cultivate without them? Yifeng nonchalantly replied, I don't know. Whenever I want to, the ambient spiritual Qi from the surroundings just rushes into my body. And even though I lack spirit roots, for some reason, I can transform my spiritual Qi into various elemental forces. Demonstrating, Yifeng gathered Qi between his hands, which fluctuated between thunder, fire, water, wind, and other elemental forces. The scene left the 5 great ancestral elder dumbfounded. Such a bizarre phenomenon was unheard of in their lifetimes. At this moment, Yifeng, rather than paying attention to the stunned elders, pondered how to spend wastefully. He considered giving each elder 1 million high-quality spiritual stones, a hefty gift given his status as a core disciple. However, his system deemed it insufficient for lavish spending. Annoyed at being looked down upon by the system, he decided to upgrade his offering to 1 million top-quality spiritual stones, which the system finally approved. Boldly, Yifeng proposed this and, to his astonishment, it was accepted. He took out 5 rings, each containing 1 million top-quality spiritual stones, saying, Esteemed ancestral elders, I came here in a rush and didn't prepare any significant gifts. Please accept these 1 million top-quality spiritual stones, and don't find them too meager. The ancestral elders were left bewildered. They looked incredulously at the rings, wondering if a Qi activation realm disciple could genuinely own such a treasure. Seeing the frozen expressions of the elders, Luo Wuming stepped forward. Elders, haven't you been stuck at a cultivation bottleneck for decades? Here are 5 enlightenment pills. Don't ask any questions. Consume them, and you'll enter a state of enlightenment. Once again, the elders were taken aback. They probably hadn't been this shocked in their entire lives. Meanwhile, Yifeng was speechless, thinking, Master, are you trying to steal my thunder in wasteful spending? Luo Wuming just smirked. That's what you get for not selling me any enlightenment pills. Moments later, the 5 great ancestral elder decisively swallowed the enlightenment pills. Immediately, waves of enlightenment emanated from them. Seeing this, Luo Wuming took his leave with Yifeng. And so, 30 minutes later, the ancestral elders awoke from their state of enlightenment. However, unfortunately, they were just a little short of making a breakthrough. Luo Qianqing approached the 2 and inquired, How many more enlightenment pills do you have? At this point, when faced with the question from the great ancestral elder, Luo Wuming promptly threw Yifeng under the bus, indicating that Yifeng still had quite a few in his possession. But he plans to feed them to dogs, Luo Wuming said with a mischievous grin. Upon hearing this, the 5 great ancestral elders were collectively dumbfounded. What? Feed them to dogs? The great ancestral elder Luo Qianqing stepped forward. Yifeng, our ancestral teachings prohibit us from bullying the younger generation. The enlightenment pills are yours, and you can deal with them as you wish. However, feeding them to dogs is absolutely not allowed. Seeing the intense gaze from the 5 great ancestral elders, Yifeng, with his heart pounding, replied, I still have 90 enlightenment pills left. It's indeed a bit wasteful to feed them all to the dogs. How about I keep 40 of them? Seeing Yifeng being so reasonable, Luo Qianqing felt it wasn't right to be angry at him and instead turned his frustration toward Luo Wuming. As the sect master, shouldn't you be controlling your disciples' wasteful tendencies? Caught off guard by the redirection of blame, Luo Wuming could only give a bitter smile and defend himself. Great ancestral elder, you can't blame me. This kid is uncontrollable. He once used the 9-leaf soul-returning herb for a foot soak and fed underworld sword intent fragments to his dogs. Yifeng was exasperated. It seemed like his master was addicted to selling him out. As expected, upon hearing this, Luo Qianqing was so infuriated that he spat blood, leaving Yifeng feeling rather embarrassed. Was it really necessary to be so overly dramatic? Regaining his composure, Luo Qianqing once again tried to reason with Yifeng. Can you please not feed the enlightenment pills to dogs? It would be better if you kept them for yourself. Upon hearing this, Yifeng was incredibly astonished. Why are the sects of this world so easygoing? Normally, with all the treasures he possesses, shouldn't the 5 great ancestral elder try to seize them by force? From the novels he read in his previous life, anyone who possessed even the smallest treasure would be reduced to ashes by others. Looking back, his beautiful master, who always said she wouldn't guide them, still spent a lot of money buying clear mysterious pills for them. An old bai, who constantly joked about lying flat, always enthusiastically helped him out. Even in the recent martial platform event, even if his senior brothers and sisters were defeated by him, they still took pride in Yifeng. Now the master and the 5 great ancestral elder were treating him so kindly. Honestly, being in such a sect made Yifeng feel extremely content. Given this, he decided to be a comfortable spendthrift in the sect. He then chose to hand over 70 enlightenment pills to the sect but couldn't part with the remaining 20. At this moment, Yifeng thought that in order to live comfortably as a prodigal son, it's best if the sect is stronger. It's not a bad idea to give some treasures to the sect. Seeing this, Luo Qianxing felt extremely heartened and repeated the word good 3 times. It's truly the sect's fortune to have such a disciple. Afterwards, Luo Qianxing gave Luo Wuming a knowing look. Luo Wuming, you're fully aware of the contributions Yifeng has made to the sect. As long as he doesn't violate the ancestral teachings, you have no right to punish him. Understand? At this moment, Luo Wuming acted like a submissive junior and quickly expressed his understanding. With this, Yifeng's meeting with the 5 great ancestral elder ended. Luo Wuming felt triumphant. Even if the great ancestral elder didn't say it, I wouldn't mistreat Yifeng. After all, I consider Yifeng as my personal god of wealth. Suddenly, Yifeng accidentally pulled out a golden silkworm star shining stone, attracting the attention of the ancestral elders who hadn't left yet. Yifeng laughed. It slipped out accidentally. It's just a broken stone. No need to mind it. Luo Wuming immediately started cursing. You rascal. You said you didn't have any star shining stones. Yifeng pouted. It's just a broken stone. Seeing this, the 5th great ancestral elder, being an artifact refiner, was very excited and approached Yifeng. No matter the cost, I wish to buy it. After all, this star shining stone was one of the minerals he most desired. However, Yifeng directly refused, even providing a reason. I don't have many of these right now. I needed to pave the floor of my hut's toilet. Upon hearing Yifeng's words, Luo Wuming nearly spat out blood in anger. The ancestral elders were also so infuriated that they could hardly catch their breaths. Chu Yunshan managed to squeeze out a smile and asked, Yifeng, do you realize how crucial this star shining stone is for artifact refiners? Yifeng responded, I don't know about that, but what I do know is that when I gather enough of these stones to build a toilet, it will be incredibly magnificent with its dazzling golden light. Luo Wuming was infuriated. You're gathering more of them? Don't you know that these are spirit minerals that can absorb tribulation lightning? Are you planning to hide in the toilet when you face tribulation in the future? Chu Yunshan, however, caught on to something essential. You said you could obtain more star shining stones? Yifeng replied, yes, after building my toilet. If there are any leftovers, I'll give them to you. Hearing this, Chu Yunshan repeated the word good several times, suddenly agreeing with Yifeng's approach. This left not only Yifeng bewildered, but the rest of the ancestral elders and Luo Wuming were also perplexed. Luo Qianxing quickly pulled Chu Yunshan aside to inquire, Old Fifth, have you gone mad? That's the golden silkworm star shining stone, and you're agreeing with him using it for a toilet? The other ancestral elders and Luo Wuming began to whisper among themselves. Chu Yunshan retorted, are you guys clueless? Once Yifeng builds the toilet, can't we just hide in there and withstand the tribulation lightning? A single star shining stone can endure so much. Imagine if the entire toilet is built of it. We can just squat and succeed in crossing the tribulation. Isn't that better? Luo Wuming was stunned. Wow, is that really possible? And to think, with this golden toilet, we might not even need life-saving treasures for the tribulation. At this point, Yifeng felt a chill, sensing that they were plotting something unsavory. After agreeing with Yifeng's golden toilet plan, Luo Qianxing directly instructed Luo Wuming to ensure God of Wealth Yifeng's safety in the upcoming Heaven's Way battlefield. However, Yifeng expressed his desire to participate alone, relying on his own strength. In the Qi activation realm, he was an invincible presence. Luo Wuming tried to dissuade him. This is no child's play. Listen to the great ancestral elder and take more senior brothers with you for protection. Luo Qianxing pondered upon hearing this. Yifeng interjected, if there are too many people, my cultivation experience would be meaningless. Finally, Luo Qianxing agreed. Go alone, but be extremely careful and trust no one. Rest in the sect for the next 2 days. On the 3rd day, you can head to the Heaven's Way battlefield teleportation tower. Yifeng had his reasons for this decision. Taking a large group of senior brothers to the Heaven's Way battlefield could mean he'd end up protecting them instead of the other way around in dangerous situations. Besides, if Yifeng did run into danger, don't forget he has the unbeatable godly wealthy guard squad. He was even looking forward to meeting this guard squad. After paying respects to the ancestral elders, Yifeng returned to his residence and found that several senior brothers and sisters were still there. They enthusiastically inquired, Junior brother, do you have any more of those enlightenment pills you gave us earlier? They were all astounded by the effects of the enlightenment pill. It was truly remarkable. Even though it might seem a bit shameless, they wanted to ask for a few more pills. Yifeng mentioned he didn't have many left. He originally had 90 pills, but he had already given 70 to the ancestral elders. Seeing the situation, senior sister Xia Tiantian quickly asked, can you spare just one of the remaining 20 for me? Just one pill, please. Meow. By the end, Xia Tiantian was acting all cute and coquettish. However, Yifeng still declined. I really can't give any more. I need to keep some for my dog. Even the great ancestral elder couldn't get these remaining 20, so you all should stop hoping. At this moment, they all remembered what Luo Wuming had once said. The junior brother is very extravagant. efficient, incredibly wasteful, but there was nothing they could do. After all, the pills belonged to Yifeng. They could only give up, feeling a bit regretful for missing the opportunity. However, Yifeng reminded them, "Why are you all so disheartened? Remember, I've given 70 pills to the sect. As core disciples of the sect, aren't those enlightenment pills reserved for you?" Upon hearing this, the enlightened group immediately dashed off. The eldest senior brother, Chen Haoyu, thanked Yifeng and also hurried off to claim his pill. Yifeng was left speechless. Before leaving, "Couldn't you have fixed my roof?" At this moment, Yifeng pulled out a glass of red wine and, with a touch of flair, mused to himself, "The life of a lavish prodigal is just like this, monotonous, tasteless, yet luxurious." Even the system was surprised. "Where did you get that wine from?" The boastful Yifeng suddenly remembered that he had earlier gifted some top-grade spiritual stones to the 5 great ancestral elders, but there was no reward notification. The system explained, "The ancestral elders do not intend to keep it. They plan to return it to you. Therefore, this extravagant action isn't considered complete. It's still ongoing." Yifeng was exasperated. Have they got rust in their brains? Turning down money? At that moment, Luo Chanqing walked in. "Yifeng, I hope I'm not disturbing your rest." Speaking of the devil, Yifeng turned around awkwardly. "Ah, great ancestral elder. No disturbance at all." Without waiting for Luo Chanqing to speak, Yifeng quickly said, "Great ancestral elder, please use the premium spiritual stone I gave you as you wish. Don't be shy. I have plenty of them. You're not here to return the spiritual stone to me, are you?" Luo Chanqing responded by taking out the 5 storage ring and said, "The Star Extreme sect doesn't need the spiritual stone from the disciples at the moment. Our reserves are sufficient. So, Yifeng, you should keep it." Yifeng immediately declined. "While I may not know exactly how many spiritual stones this sect has in reserve, I'm sure that the total amount of spiritual stones in the entire sect isn't even a fraction of what I have." He then advertised to the great ancestral elder, "If the sect ever needs spiritual stones, just ask me. I can guarantee an endless supply." Seeing this, Luo Chanqing decided to test him further. "In that case, do you have any spiritual crystals?" Yifeng looked puzzled. "Spiritual crystal? What's that?" Luo Chanqing explained, "It's the primary source of power for our sect's protective array. The sect has been running low on it lately. While I'm testing you, if you really can provide some, it would be a great help." After all, while Star Extreme sect is one of the top sects in the Xiantian continent, it has many enemies. Over the past few centuries, the amount of spiritual crystals we've obtained from the Heaven's Way battlefield has been dwindling. That's why I'm asking if you have any. Yifeng's eyes lit up. "Isn't this another opportunity for me? Look, system, how good Star Extreme sect is to me. They're like family. So, can I give them 100 billion premium spiritual crystals?" The system couldn't help but retort, "Host, are you kidding me? 100 billion spiritual crystals would last the sect for centuries. 100 million at most." Yifeng replied, "That's not right, system. The people of Star Extreme sect are like my loved ones. We should be more generous." But the system remained adamant. Yifeng hadn't really expected it to agree. He was just testing its reaction. It seemed the system wasn't completely devoid of human sentiments. "Guess I can banter with the system more often in the future," he thought. "In that case, let's settle for 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals," Yifeng concluded. Seeing this, the system promptly dispatched 100 million spiritual crystals. At this point, Luo Chanqing had no idea that Yifeng possessed any spiritual crystals. In his understanding, spiritual crystals were exclusive to Heaven's Way battlefield. He didn't believe Yifeng could produce any and prepared to leave. However, the next moment, Yifeng stopped him. "I have 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals here." Luo Chanqing was utterly shocked, his face a mask of disbelief. He started doubting his own sanity, suspecting he was hallucinating. He couldn't fathom how Yifeng could produce 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals. Even if one sold off the entirety of Star Extreme sect, they couldn't amass so many spiritual crystals. But in pursuit of the truth, he probed Yifeng's ring with his spiritual sense. The next moment, he was flabbergasted. The ring was filled, end to end, with countless top-grade spiritual crystals. Witnessing this scene, even Luo Chanqing, with years of experience, felt his composure faltering. This ring's value surpassed that of the entire Star Extreme sect by a lot. At this point, Yifeng successfully showcased his extravagance, earning hundreds of show-off points and an enhanced version of the 9-star sword formation secret manual. Puzzled, Yifeng looked at the manual, wondering what it was all about. Outside, Luo Chanqing was still in a state of disbelief. "Yifeng, are you sure you want to hand over these top-grade spiritual crystals to the sect?" His voice trembled. Seeing this, Yifeng chuckled internally. Truly, no one could resist the allure of immense wealth. He responded, "Of course, but I suggest the sect keep the protective array active all the time. Whenever you run out of spiritual crystals, just ask me for more." Luo Chanqing declined, "Absolutely not. These premium spiritual crystals are too precious. Unless the sect faces a crisis, we shouldn't waste them like this." Yifeng retorted, "Great ancestral elder, you're thinking too small. A mere 100 million crystals are just a drop in the bucket. If I can produce 100 million now, I can certainly produce more in the future. Just use them without worry." Luo Qianqing was nearly driven to the edge by Yifeng's flamboyant display of wealth and reckless generosity. Do you really have more? This time, Luo Qianqing's tone was deadly serious. Yifeng confidently replied, absolutely, the sect can use them as they wish. Upon hearing this, Luo Qianqing made the most audacious decision of his life. From that day onwards, the Star Extreme sect's 9-star sword formation would remain permanently active. Yifeng was taken aback. The sect's protective array is the 9-star sword formation. He then pulled out the reward, the enhanced version of the 9-star sword formation secret. Great Ancestral Elder, look at this formation I have. Luo Qianqing took it and examined it closely. The more he looked, the more astonished he became. It indeed is the 9-star sword formation, but an enhanced version. Though the consumption is 10 times greater, the power of the formation has also increased tenfold. Luo Qianqing looked at Yifeng with curious eyes. Great Ancestral Elder, don't ask. If you do, the answer is I don't know. Yifeng knew the elder would inquire about the origin, but he couldn't explain, so he decided to just silence the questions. Seeing Yifeng's response, Luo Qianqing didn't press further. He promptly pulled out an honorary elder token. From now on, you're an honorary elder of Star Extreme sect. Yifeng was baffled. Why am I suddenly an honorary elder? The Great Ancestral Elder replied, not just that, you'll sit and stand on the same level as our 5 Great Ancestral Elder. Even if Luo Wuming sees you, he must address you as Elder Yi. Although Yifeng was intrigued by the prospect of outranking his own master, he quickly declined. He didn't want such a high position, understanding that greater status often came with greater responsibilities. He merely wanted a peaceful life of extravagance. Moreover, he was Luo Qianxua's senior disciple. How could he face Luo Qianxua then? Luo Qianqing, however, was adamant. Without giving you this status, how can the sect justify your enormous contributions? If it helps, only the 5 Elder and Luo Wuming will know of this status. It won't affect your regular life. Seeing Luo Qianqing's resolute stance, Yifeng relented but made it clear that apart from providing resources, he wouldn't be involved in any other matters. Only then was Luo Qianqing satisfied. Just then, Luo Wuming approached, inquiring if Yifeng wanted to visit the Beast Peak. He hadn't expected to find the Great Ancestral Elder there as well. Before he could understand the situation, Luo Qianqing burst out angrily. Is Yifeng also someone you can address so casually? From today on, call him Elder Yi. He is now an honorary elder of the Star Extreme sect, holding a position equivalent to the 5 Elder. The next time you, old man, see him, show some respect. Luo Wuming could only nod repeatedly and then looked questioningly at the Great Ancestral Elder. How did Yifeng become an honorary elder? With a poker face, Luo Qianqing explained, his contributions to the sect have been immense. Even as an honorary elder, I feel it's a slight to Yifeng. Luo Wuming smirked, contributed a lot. Ha, his eyes seemed to see through everything. He then slyly asked Yifeng, Elder Yi, tell me, how much did you spend to buy this honorary elder title? Yifeng replied awkwardly, Master, perhaps you shouldn't call me elder. As for the price, it's 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals and the enhanced version of the 9-star sword formation secret manual. Upon hearing this, Luo Wuming was stunned. If that's the case, indeed, the title of honorary elder does slight you. Yifeng, not wanting to discuss this further, changed the topic. Master, didn't you mention the Beast Peak? Let's go take a look. Later, Luo Qianqing returned to his cave mansion in the rear mountain. The other ancestral elders approached and inquired, Big brother, did you return the spiritual stone? We can't afford to lose that. However, Luo Qianqing just shook his head and sighed. The other ancestral elders were puzzled. Why didn't you return it? Brother, have you lost your senses? We're not lacking that million top-grade spiritual stones. Luo Qianqing replied helplessly, not only did I not return them, but I also took some benefits from Yifeng. I really didn't want to, but he offered so much that I couldn't resist. Before the others could speak, Luo Qianqing immediately took out a ring filled with 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals and placed it on the table. Chuyunzhan said, just tell us how many spiritual stones. Big brother, Luo Qianqing sighed, it's not spiritual stones, it's 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals. 4th Ancestral Elder Qing Xingfei shakily picked up the ring. 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals just casually placed here. She couldn't believe it. All 4 ancestral elders were shocked. Chuyunzhan's eyes widened. With these 100 million spiritual crystals, the Star Extreme sect could thrive without worries for centuries. However, Luo Qianqing corrected, from today on, the sect's protective formation will be active forever, at all times. Hearing this, the 4 ancestral elders were flabbergasted. What? Brother, have you gone profligate too? Regaining their senses, they questioned Luo Qianqing. Have you gone mad? Is there another sect plotting against us? Luo Qianqing imitated Yifeng's tone. You all think too small. It's just a measly 100 million. If used up, we'll just get more. The ancestral elders were unsettled. How did this brat manage to make us feel like beggars in just one day? Luo Qianqing then rummaged through his bag, mentioning that Yifeng also gave an enhanced version of the 9-star sword formation. Both consumption and power increased tenfold. Even if someone at the peak of the tribulation crossing realms 9th level comes, if they don't die, they'll be severely injured. The elders were shocked once more.